Weather Center can communicate with them and let me know if we can talk to them, we'll go ahead and do that. But that's that storm that we're watching. Again, west of 287. It's going to cross 287 south of Masterson, but north of 335. Now, they've paused for a moment. There's a very clear lowering on that, but we don't see a funnel or a tornado yet. Now, if you're just joining, again, it's a tornado warning. That's going to be until just west of 287 for that cell. I'm sorry, Dylan, what? You can talk to me. You're getting... Oh, we got Tanner? Okay, let's go ahead and pitch it out to Alistair Carte and Tanner Brammer in the Weather Atlas. Guys, tell us exactly where you are, which direction you're looking, and we're looking at what you are seeing. Tell us a little bit more.
All right, so yeah, we are currently on Boys Ranch Highway looking, we actually just turned around, we're looking northward. And there is some little bit of rotation, some broad rotation in that cloud, in that funnel cloud you are currently seeing right now. Likely some pretty good-sized hail right now as well. Maybe about 2 to 3 inches in diameter. Alex, any input?
We're about 3.5 miles west of Bishop Hills right now. That's our location.
And that is where the current tornado warning is. There hasn't been anything that has been confirmed touchdown. We've been watching this for the past about 20 to 30 minutes maybe. Just some very broad rotation waiting on it to tighten up. But we're going to continue to monitor this over the next few minutes and have some updates for you guys. But for now, we're going to send it back over to Kevin in the studio. So stay tuned in the News Channel 10, and we'll be keeping you guys updated throughout the evening on the rest of these storms. Kevin?
Okay, Tanner, thanks very much. We're going to continue to go back and forth between the radar and that particular storm because this is now a tornado warning storm. So it just came out. What's the timing on that, Dave? Do we know? Dave's in there looking at the warning that comes from the Weather Service. We're also in communication with the Weather Service via the Weather Service chat. They'll keep us posted. Until what time? Until 7:15. Okay, I wanted to get you some landmarks here. Everybody's phone, as Dave mentioned a moment ago, has gone off for the tornado warning. This is north of Amarillo proper and a good bit. This is 335 right here, and this is Dumas Highway. So this storm is in, well, basically the western or northwestern portion of the county. It is continuing to move on to the east, and that continues to obviously strengthen, as you saw on the video. So in Amarillo proper, we are okay from this storm right now. It is not moving in a southeasterly direction, but it is moving in an east or developing in an easterly direction west of 287. We haven't gone over our tornado safety procedures. Again, it's a tornado warning right now, but what I want you to keep in mind, number one, as far as if you feel threatened, you want to go ahead and go to your safe place. If you don't wait for us to tell you. Let's review the safety rules. Underground is best if you have a storm shelter. That's first. If you don't, this is not likely to be a massive tornado, but what you want to do is stay toward the center of the house. The idea is to put as many walls between you and the outside as you can, because if we get near that tornado or any kind of rotation, any kind of straight line wind gust, it's going to pick up some debris, and the idea is to put as many things between you and the outside as you can. So that's center of the house, lowest floor of the house, like a bathroom, a hallway, a closet. A smaller room has more structural integrity, and that will hold up better under any kind of strong winds. The winds tend to speed up as you go up, and that's why you want to be on the first floor. So lowest floor, bathroom, hallway, closet. Get something to cover up your head as well. Okay, nothing on the ground. We're getting reports now. Bring something, number one, to cover up your head. Baseball helmets are great. Any kind of a helmet is great. Football is great. You also want to put on some sturdy shoes. Now that we're getting into the evening, you're home, it's kind of bit on the warm side. If you get into a situation where there's damage as it comes through and afterwards, you don't want to be in a situation where you're in your bare feet or your flip-flops or anything like that, because you may have to deal with some broken glass, you may have to deal with some splintered wood, you may have to deal with some nails. Obviously, we hope that's not the situation, but do think about what you might need to do after that situation. Also, if you want to put together your meds, you have your prescriptions, anything like that. If you're a person that has reading glasses or close-up glasses or spare glasses, maybe put those near you as well, and just know that you might want to need those, especially if something comes through after. So, okay, now we've got Tanner's video again. He's in the Weather Atlas. Do we have a location on them? Are they on 287 yet? No. Okay, so they're on maybe close to 335 looking northward? Is that their plan? Near the Bushland Cutoff. Okay, so they're looking at that storm. You can very clearly see the lowering, and this signal, you know, the cell phone signal kind of comes and goes, so it's going to drop and come back here. So it'll be a little choppy. We apologize for that, but that's just the nature of the cell signal around the area. But in that lowering, we didn't see a tornado at this particular moment, but that's what they're looking at right there. It looks a little raggedy, but I'm going to just step over here while we continue with that video so I can look at the radar as well. On this tornado-warned storm, it's the western, part of the northwestern and north central portions of Potter County, and that will go until 8:15. Okay, as I look at radar right now and Doppler radar, we can very clearly, as we saw a little earlier on the reflectivity, see that hook or the notch, which I'll show you in just a second. But I don't see a strong velocity rotation. We're able to use Doppler radar and sort of peek inside of that storm, and we're seeing how that storm is, or if it is rotating and rotating tightly. I don't see any big velocity presence right now, Dave. Do you?
No, and on the video there coming back from Tanner,
Mike.
Video coming back from Tanner there shows they're pretty much around Bishop Hills right now, looking north. That's staying north of Amarillo. It's not coming into the city right now.
Yep. Okay. Since they have a little bit of an obstructed view, let's go ahead and come back to me and we'll talk about the other storms around the area. Again, tornado warning north of Amarillo, not Amarillo included, or Amarillo is not included. It's north of the city. I'm going to take a little tour though and look around. That's the tornado warning right here. We also have another strong thunderstorm just south of Stratford and east of Dalhart. But as I did at the top of the program, I want to mention the storms over New Mexico that are now crossing the border into Texas. That's a level of instability that is driving these storms that's to our west that will continue moving eastward tonight. So as I mentioned a short time ago, if you are along and north of 40, that's going to be the greatest likelihood, and we have this batch of thunderstorms that are going to continue to move through the western, northwestern portions of the region for several more hours, at least until 10 o'clock tonight. Does not necessarily mean we'll have severe thunderstorm warnings or tornado warnings continuously, but of course we'll keep you posted on that. So we've also been watching this storm that has now come through Conlin. If you're in Conlin on Highway 54, if you're still getting a little bit of hail, and that had the same potential for at least 1 inch, maybe 1.5 inch size hail. If you're still getting it, give it 5 to 10 more minutes, maybe 15, and it's going to continue to develop southeastward away from the highway. We've not gotten hit too hard in Dalhart, but there's still the potential for some rain. And Stratford, you got lucky in that this went just to your west and southwest. And I don't want to say you're all clear, but the heavier rain is now diminishing, and that will last for a little while longer. So the new threat area is...
And,
yeah, sure.
A little info here for you.
Okay, go ahead,
share
Dave.
with you.
Yeah,
okay,
sure.
Yeah. Let's come back. If you might have to get me back over there. So,
to that, you want that cell
there's
there.
the
Okay.
Highway 54. Just an update.
There we go.
Everybody got the tornado warning on your phone. It is for Potter County. You know, the actual warning just kind of skims the north side around, say, River Road. But let me tell you that we do not have a confirmed tornado. The last report we have 14 miles northwest of Amarillo, moving east at 20. Remember, we have Tanner, our intercept crew, in there watching that. They have not seen a tornado touchdown. There are indications of perhaps tennis ball, baseball size hail right in there. And even that, I think, is going to bypass Amarillo and stay to the north. So really what we're looking at is just around the Canadian River, maybe just south of there, the storm moving off to the east. If you live in Amarillo, just like Kevin has been mentioning, you want to be ready with your severe weather precaution drill. Get ready for your plan of action. But from what we're seeing now on radar and the reports we have coming back from Tanner, our intercept crew there, is that we don't have a tornado on the ground. It is moving off to the east, kind of a rotation in there. Getting some wall clouds, some scuddy looking stuff, and from a distance especially, looks really ominous. But it's not coming to Amarillo. I'm on 2 microphones right now, so you ought to have me. Okay, let me check that one more time.
Dave, while you pause, the Weather Service has upped the hail size to baseballs in that storm.
Okay,
the
baseball
Potter
size.
County one.
Okay, live TV, sometimes we have audio issues there. Let me go through some of this again. This is the storm that has prompted the tornado warning. That's all it is, warning. It's based on radar and rotation that we've seen. And also, there's been some visual. We've been watching that with Tanner's feed there. Some visual indications of rotation, but not a full-fledged tornado, not on the ground right now, staying north of Amarillo, but maybe some baseball-sized hail. Do we have the feed coming in from our chase team? Let's take a look. Okay, so there's the base of the storm If there were a tornado, we would see it right there, and they'd be letting us know. So just know that that's why we have intercept crews out to kind of corroborate what we have going on with radar. So, it's definitely ominous looking. See the dark flat base, and from a distance, I promise there's always something hanging out of a cloud that looks like a tornado. But we've got our eyes right in there, and just letting you know we're monitoring the potential for a tornado. But so far, that's all it's been, is a rotating updraft with a little rotation in the clouds, but not a tornado. However, baseball to tennis ball size hail, that's staying just north of Amarillo. Our crew's kind of getting out north of Amarillo, getting on Highway 87 now and heading up to the north. Kevin, you got some...
I got your velocity now if you want to come back to the radar. It's looking much better, meaning less organized for rotation.
Okay, so this is where we look at how the wind is blowing within the storm. We call that velocity. And we have what we call a couplet. We have air coming towards the radar or going away. This right here looks like it's starting to dominate, and that's pushing out from the storm towards the radar. So that's kind of like a rear flank downdraft pushing out some cooler air, and we don't really see a lot of inbound stuff right in there. So still something to continue to monitor. Notice the red box right in here, polygon. That's the tornado warning. The meat of that, the core, the actual couplet right there, the rotating area, that's staying north of the city, and it looks like it's a little spread out and a little disorganized right now. So it's comforting to know that we don't actually have a tornado on the ground. It's a potential candidate for a tornado-producing storm.
We got video coming in from Doug. He's on this as well.
Okay. We're just going to look at some new video coming in.
Don't have it just yet.
Okay. We got a different source there that we'll try to get back on here in a few moments.
I'll go back to reflect.
Hey, good news for Amarillo. Your phone went off. Your First Alert app probably went off. Your weather radio probably went off, as they should. That means you got notified that a warning was issued, and that's how it works. That's how we play the game. That's how we get information out in advance to let you know when you need to seek shelter. And the day will come that there's a tornado warning. There's one on the ground, and it's moving into a town. That doesn't seem to be the case right now. We did have a significant rotation earlier. We had some indications that it's a storm that could produce a tornado, and for precautionary reasons, as well they should, the Weather Service put out a tornado warning. It did clip just right there around the North Loop, and getting out towards the Nichols Power Plant, a Sarco, out that way. Little sliver of Amarillo was included in that tornado warning, but the actual track of the storm is staying well to the north, and it just does not look like that's coming in to the city. Even places like River Road, I think Tierra Grande, we're going to stay north of those areas also. It's kind of up closer to the Canadian River and just south of there, and it's really mainly a large hail threat right now, with perhaps tennis ball to baseball size hail. We're watching that. Kevin's tracking it out, and just it's going to cross 287 there, north of Amarillo. Now, we got some video coming in. Doug Black, one of our interceptors, also keeping a close watch on this. We love having our trained eyes out there. And these, Tanner and our crew and Doug, these are guys you can depend on, because they know how to get right in there where the action is, where a tornado would be developing, but they also know how to stay out of harm's way and let us know what's happening. So there's a good visual shot of that storm, and it just, does not look like it's structured right now to be imminent as far as tornado production is concerned. Good news there. Good news right there. So we're going to stick on this shot, and I'm going to see if Kevin wants to get back out. Didn't mean to hijack his show here.
No, you take it any time.
Okay.
I figured we'd go and look, since we're in a relative pause on this one. Let's come back to the radar and check on our other storms, since we've got another severe storm in the northern portions of the region. The hail core of this one, we're talking about the purple, has obviously now moved south of the highway, 54. So Conlin, while you're still getting some heavy rain, that should let up in the next, say, 10 to 15 minutes or so. Hit and miss showers, thunder showers, still possible, but that heaviest, and look, there's a new picture right there. So now I think we're probably guaranteed of some possibly baseball size hail. Now we got that little area of black in there. That's just a higher reflectivity core in that cell. It seems to have accelerated a little bit, and so it's moving to 287 as well. That hail core will now move on 287 in between Stratford and Cactus, and you obviously don't want to be driving in that. So if you know anybody that may be traveling in between Stratford or south of Stratford and northward from Cactus on 287, we want to watch out for that particular thunderstorm cell once again. Let's sort of recap. We've got a tornado warning now for the northern portion of Potter County. Amarillo proper is not included in this. It's in effect at this point until 8:15. Our storm chasers are on it, but we don't see anything in contact with the ground right now. There's a rotating wall cloud. They're continuing to watch it, and of course they're going to continue to keep us posted. In fact, let's go back to the video here. We'll also talk a little bit about maybe some of our protocols here. Northern portion of Potter County, tornado warning currently in effect. Time to get your phone tree, especially anybody along the 287 corridor working. If you know anybody that is in that area north of Amarillo, south of Dumas, we want to let them know, hey, it's time to turn on the television. They maybe have not been paying attention, so they can catch us on TV. We've got NewsChannel10.com where we're streaming on Facebook as well, and on the app. It's kind of an interesting evolution here, Dave. We want to wonder maybe it's starting to wrap again, so we want to be very careful on that, but we've obviously got our chasers on there. But when we start to see a little bit of a curve like that, this is warm, moist, unstable air flowing in, and once it hits this line right there, the high reflectivity line, it starts to rise, and we get some rotation going on in there. Inside the storm, that's what the Doppler radar is for, is looking for that rotation. And then what we really like to see is the storm chasers to see if they've got any visuals on the ground. The radar's actually a couple thousand feet above the ground by that time. Yes, sir?
Bushland Tower Cam.
Okay, we can take the Bushland Tower Cam if we can. I don't have it in my show, I don't think.
Oh, they can
if they
pull
want
it.
to take it. Sure. Okay, there it is, Bushland. So that's Bushland looking northward. You can kind of see, well, you can kind of make out that rotation there, especially in the center lower portion of the screen. You can see that lowering there. That's the mesocyclone. That's the rotating part of the thunderstorm. Again, we don't have a tornado in contact with the ground at this point in time, but that's what it looks like from the Bushland camera. And this will stay north of Bushland. It will stay north of Amarillo and continue on toward the 287 corridor. All right, maybe we'll come back to the radar and get a check there, see if we get a new picture. I'm very concerned about this hail as well coming across 287. That's our northernmost storm right there. I don't have the clicker. Let me get the clicker and we'll back up and talk about some of these other storms. Yeah. Okay, so this is our tornado warned storm right here. We continue to see that box, the red box, that's the outline. So it doesn't hit Amarillo proper, but it's right there near the intersection of 287 and 335. So anywhere north of 335, either side of 287, you are included in this tornado warning. Let's go back over our safety rules once again, since people may be just joining us. First choice is a storm shelter if you have one, or a basement. If not, you want to be on the first floor, the lowest floor of the building you're in a small room toward the center of the house, like a bathroom, hallway, closets. Bring something to cover up your head. I'm not talking about the mattresses, maybe the cushions off of the sofa. Something to protect your head, some sort of helmet is a great idea as well. Because there's no question that this rotating area, this notch, will move in toward the 287 corridor, but it's still going to be, I would say, 15 to 20 minutes, maybe even closer to 30 minutes. Dave, we got this new cell developing too. That's actually good news. Maybe you want to zoom down a little bit on that, and we'll take a closer look at the notch and the new cell. This would actually help us with regard to the tornadic rotation. Come down a little closer on the southwestern portion of that box, if you will, and maybe we'll stop it if you can, just on one end frame. There's the notch that we're worried about right there. The guys are getting close to that, and they're watching it on the tower cam. This new cell that develops is trying to catch up in here. That's good news for us with regard to safety, because as that one develops, it'll get in and maybe disrupt the organization of the tornadic part of that cell, that rotating part that we saw on the Bushland Tower Cam. So let's run that in motion a couple of times again if we can, and we'll see what that one's doing. Yeah, there's that new cell. That's a new updraft going very, very quickly. It doesn't mean that it's going to prevent a tornado or continued rotation, but it may just disrupt that just enough here for the next couple of minutes to give us a little bit more time as it gets closer to 287. I want to mention that hail is getting closer. That's probably less than 5 miles away from the highway. So as we've said, if you know anybody who's maybe not paying attention, get them on the phone and say, don't travel in between Dumas, or at least Masterson and Amarillo, because there's a tornado warned cell moving toward the highway. Let's say that's not bad-looking rotation as far as, well, let me say it this way. It's not well-organized rotation that would mean an imminent tornado right there. But that's the spot that we're watching right there, where we see the green is what we call inbound, or wind moving toward the radar. The red is outbound, wind moving away from. And because if you've got a tight gradient between green and red right here, that you can interpret rotation from and possibly a tornado. And that's why we've got our guys on the ground. Let's go back to that video. Are they still available with the Weather Atlas? Do we know where they are at this point? It's north of Amarillo. Okay. And, oh, people out watching for that storm. That's pretty interesting there. There's a little bit of a upper shelf, or maybe part of the mesocyclone right there. Once they get away from those hills and get on 287, I think they'll get, oh, they've pulled up on a little hill. Okay, so now we're talking about, they've got a pretty good shot of the mesocyclone, the rotating part of that. We still don't see a funnel. They're probably just east of the storm. Let's see if we can find out if they're on 287 yet. I think they might be. They might just be east of the storm, looking westward into it. Yeah, that little rise there. Is that near the,
they're on 287.
The other tower site there?
Yeah, it's real close to it.
Okay, yeah, so that's just a couple miles north of the TV station. And if somebody in news wants to go out and look north from the TV station, maybe look for some pictures as well. Obviously, a little thunder and lightning with this storm. It doesn't appear to be rapid rotation at this time, Dave. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's again, it's certainly what a wall cloud looks like.
Yep.
But just if there's going to be a tornado, usually we see that spinning around pretty solidly, and
right.
I think any rotation we have at this point is kind of slow. So right now we're still in the precautionary stage of watching that, and just making sure that we don't actually have a tornado brewing there. And we haven't really seen that. So far we've seen the wall cloud like we have there. Earlier we had a little more significant rotation there. On radar we've seen the couplet, but so far it just really hasn't wound up tight and produced a tornado yet. And that's certainly good news. Just looking for the latest information here coming off.
Yeah, if you want to take over for just a minute, I'll read the new meso discussion that just came in.
Okay. Let's do that. Yeah, let's pull Tanner in here and Tanner.
Tell me what you want on the radar. I'll get it for you.
Okay, let's stay on our Amarillo storm right now. Tanner's up there watching, and Tanner, a lot of people were just wondering. We've got a tornado warning out. You've been tracking that storm for an hour. Have you seen any tornadoes? What's it doing right now?
So as of right now, Dave, we've been keeping track of this over the past maybe hour or so. But like you were talking about, it's just not getting tight enough to produce any kind of cloud-to-ground tornado. It's been some very broad rotation. That's really about it. But obviously, it is still tornado warned. So if you live anywhere in this area, obviously take shelter. You heard Dave talking about earlier. The good news is that the Amarillo city isn't in this kind of line of the storm. It's passing a good bit to the north of us, and I'm going to kind of just show you a 360 scope of what we're seeing right now. Kind of watching that as well. But like I said, no cloud-to-ground tornadoes formed. Some pretty good-sized hail. I think there was some reports of some baseball-sized hail in this storm alone. So we're going to keeping track of this, seeing if this rotation tightens up any over the next few minutes. So keep it tuned into News Channel 10 over the next few minutes. Dave, Kevin, and I will keep you updated with these storms, not only for now, but the rest of the night as well. Dave?
All right, coming back to the radar here, Tanner. Thanks. Great ground truth report right there. Great play-by-play by somebody that has been following the storm, even before we had that tornado warning. So he's kind of seen it start to finish, and once again, we can verify that he has not seen any type of tornado on the ground. That's really good. And there's the area that we're concerned about. You still see that little hook, little inflow notch right there. Still need to point out that here's the city of Amarillo. There's the North Loop. We do have new development down close to Bushland right now, and Kevin mentioned that earlier. We're getting new updrafts in here, and that may disrupt some of the organization of what was this rotating storm. The wall cloud has looked very impressive, and especially from a distance. They look like they're just dragging the ground there. So from a distance, it might look a little more menacing than it really is. But that being said, I can't go much longer. I can see the picture in the monitor. Let's pull that back up if we can. Let's get the feed from our intercept crew. You talk about a classic wall cloud. I mean, that is it right there. That's what wall clouds look like. They're on the bottom of the storm updraft. It is where tornadoes form if they're going to. But what we don't see that is usually pretty prevalent when we do have a tornado-producing storm is the rapid rotation. Every now and then we're getting a kind of a slow rotation. And once again, if you're looking from a distance, it just looks like that thing is really strafing the ground there. So it's definitely a storm to watch, and that's what we're doing very carefully. Let's come back to the radar. When the tornado warning was issued, it included a little bit of Amarillo and Potter counties, so it sounded off everybody's alert. Hey, here's a storm that Kevin's been really tracking carefully. It's the one that's come across Conlin, near Stratford, right there on Highway 54. That purple right in there is where we had estimates of baseball hail. That's coming down to the southeast. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning for it. They've extended it a little further down to the south. It's going to include now places like Cactus, even Dumas. We need to keep close watch on that. Kevin?
That was until 8 o'clock.
Okay.
And it is moving to the southeast about 25 tennis ball size hail.
Okay. Tennis ball hail. This is moving southeast around 20. Cactus does not look real good for you guys. And we can't say that the hail is going to remain that size.
We may need
We're
more
hoping
batteries.
that intensity is peaked and it will start to move down to the southeast. And perhaps we cannot guarantee that. So right now we would have to say that's probably dropping golf ball to tennis ball size hail and approaching Cactus. So if you're around Cactus, time to secure everything, get indoors. You're going to need to get people away from windows. Hopefully you've got your car in and covered, secured your loose outside objects. We haven't seen real strong rotation with that, so we're not as concerned about tornadic activity, but certainly could be a destructive hailstorm that's approaching 287, approaching Cactus. I'd say we got about 15, 20 minutes before that hail core comes on down. Severe thunderstorm warning till 8 p.m. Let's come back down to the tornadic warned storm here. Still have the tornado warning in progress. Still seeing, some of the characteristics of a tornado-producing storm, but just nothing verifying as of yet. Here's some of the rain that's dropped down to south. So,
sorry.
It's okay. We're looking at the wind field, and then that's good that you popped that up there, Kevin, because that shows to me it's kind of spreading out with more of a outflow dominance than it is a rotation. So that's good on the tornado front. However, that outflow wind can be destructive also. That can be pretty strong straight line wind. Some of the rain, especially with these new updrafts building, getting down to Bushland and I-40, and that could easily fill in, and we still have a severe thunderstorm approaching parts of Amarillo. I think at that point it would be more of a heavy rain, maybe hail, straight line threat. The notch that we continue to watch is still well north of the city, well north of River Road. Maybe up towards the Tierra Grande area, heading over towards 287, just south of the Canadian River. There's an animation. I mean, that's been pretty solid the whole way, is the rotating area or the hook area has stayed north of the city and moving pretty much due east. So we'll zoom out just a little bit there. Down towards Canyon, you got some thunder and lightning there, some rain, but just not the same caliber there. Lightning threat is kind of what we're tracking there. We're wondering if it's going to fill in kind of across the city. That's something we'll have time to monitor. We're just really, really on the ball here watching that tornado warning and everything associated with that. And I'm really happy to report that our eyes out in the field are not seeing a tornado. The rotation is not really, really impressive on the radar right now, but we're going to continue to watch that. Okay, getting real solid now around Highway 54. And this starts around, even Narra Vista in New Mexico to Romero, Middlewater to Dalhart. That's just solid, heavy rain. And we had a flood advisory in Union County, and it's been doing nothing but rain more since then. So we're going to have to watch out for water-covered roadways, especially from Amistad, Sedan, Steed up to Clayton, and then some of this is going to start to get into the Dalhart area. You folks in Dalhart, I think you might be in for a prolonged period of heavy rain, lightning. Right now, it doesn't look like you're in an immediate hail threat. That changes, though, when you pass Dalhart and you head to the northeast. The storm that has crossed 54, we still have our hail core actually a couple of hail cores in there. Looks like we're getting a little stronger down back to the west of Cactus.
That one's trying to wrap again, too. You can see there south of Stratford, just so you know.
Here's that red versus green that we see. So from Amarillo, that red is going away from the radar. The green is coming towards it. So, that indicates that we may have some kind of rotation. Now, when we're, this far from the radar up close to Stratford, we're getting about 70, 80 miles away, so we start to hit the cloud a little higher up. So we might have a rotation a little higher in the storm, not quite that tight rotation that prompted the tornado warning that we had north of Amarillo. And speaking of that one, Kevin, probably time to revisit that guy. Let's come back down north of Amarillo.
Gotcha.
Cactus, yeah. If you're in Cactus, we're going to keep a watch on
Hang
that.
on.
Hail is coming your way, it looks like. Okay. There we go. The rain part definitely building down closer to Amarillo. This is probably the least ominous that the cell has looked like probably in the last 30 minutes or an hour or so. We still have a little bit of a bend there, a little bit of a curvature. It doesn't look like it's a real powerful hook echo right there. But that purple in there still indicates the strongest part of what's falling out of the storm. And in this case, likely going to be hail. Could be still some golf balls in there. And, that right about there is the Canadian River. So that's where it's headed, just on the south banks, I think, the south breaks of the Canadian River. Here for Amarillo, it's starting to look more likely that we're going to get some rain and some lightning as these new updrafts take over. But it does not look like that what was a rotating part of the storm is changing course or anything. Kevin's drawing it out past the Dumas Highway, past 287 there. And eventually it'll head over closer to Highway 136. We'll just have to check the intensity. The trend on a lot of these storms has been once it gets to about Highway 287 and beyond, it starts to weaken. It didn't get as warm out there earlier. It's a little more stable. So this one may do the same thing, but we can't guarantee that. Do we have an update on the actual tornado warning? Any
No,
chatter?
sir.
Or
None.
Okay, why don't we see what Tanner's feeding in? We'll take a look at that video again. Come in, and still have a very impressive looking lowering there, and even kind of detect a little bit of a slow rotation there, back on the left side of that screen. So I'm sure that's why we're continuing the tornado warning, even though we haven't had any touchdowns that we know of, no official or verified tornado touchdowns, but that is pretty close to the ground. And we do still have somewhat of a rotation in there. So, again, this is well north of the city. It's not coming into the city limits right now. Let's check in with Tanner. And, Tanner, I think you can hear me, okay? Let's see if we can pull your audio up and give us a play-by-play with what you're seeing now.
All right, so yeah, Dave, we're actually here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. I'm just now getting in the car. Me and Alex are outside watching this. This rotation it does look like it is starting to tighten up just a little bit. I'm currently standing outside watching it in person. You heard Dave say that the cloud is pretty low to the ground as of right now. What was that, Alex? All right. Just realizing the mic is inside the vehicle. So yeah, we're seeing a little bit of the tightening up of that rotation right now. You see that cloud pretty low to the ground. We're going to continue to monitor this over the next 5 to 10 minutes here or so. Trying to zoom out here. There we go. You can literally see the rotation, see the front of it going to the right and the back of it going to the left. Rotation tightening up a little bit. Still nothing has touched the ground as of right now. But it is intensifying a little bit, and we're going to continue to monitor this and be streaming on Facebook and YouTube as well over the course of these storms. Dave, back to you.
All right, Tanner, thanks very much. Really good coverage of that storm, a beautiful picture of it. He's over here on the highway looking westward into that storm. The lowering is right in here. I also wanted to point out that the large hail core, that area of purple, is just now about to get on the highway. So we're talking about the potential of golf ball size hail, maybe even a little bit bigger, that is moving eastward. And that's going to cross 287 here in the next couple of minutes. Okay, they've reoriented the box a little bit. So let's look back behind this thing. Dave, you want to pan west a little bit? Maybe we can call the partial clear.
They're going to continue that tornado warning.
Okay.
tornado 11 north of Amarillo, moving east at 20.
Okay, maybe pan west a little bit, and let's
Yeah.
tell some areas that are now cleared. So Valle de Oro and Bishop Hills, you are out of the woods with regard to this tornado warning. There will be other storms, but if you look back off to the west, even toward Highway 385 there, nothing imminent for you, certainly no severe weather for you. So again, back behind this storm, Valle de Oro, areas southward along 335, I want to call a conditional all clear or safe as that storm has moved to the east of you. All right, we're going to loop it again now. At the base of this, we see a new little hook trying to develop there, and that's what they're watching on at the Weather Atlas. That hail core starting to weaken a little bit, which is good news, but it's still going to come across the highway in the next, say, 10 to 15 minutes. Our Bushland storm seems like it has weakened a little bit. We've lost the amount of red, and I don't think there was ever any pink in there. But as that one moves northeastward, once again, we get hopeful that that will kind of catch up and disrupt the organization of our tornado warned storm enough to keep it from dropping. Now, let's go back to the video. I'm seeing this on the side. Let's go back to Tanner's video. Okay, we're right in the middle of the picture there. There's a very clear lowering there. It's not a very solid and rapid rotation. You don't see any striations in that wall cloud, the brighter white area, but there is clearly a lowering right there. That's not scud. Dave, you want to comment on that? It is clearly a lowering right in that notch there. So we'll watch it, but it doesn't appear, I don't see any debris yet, and I don't see it necessarily any condensation funnel on the ground.
Yeah, and I agree. I just don't think it's rotating rapidly enough right now.
It's dissipating already.
Yeah.
So if you're able to see these things, you'll get little lowerings like that, and a lot of times we get what we call scud. Those are sort of raggedy clouds. They're threatening looking, but they tend to not persist, and that's what you want or you're looking for, is to see if they're going to persist and maintain themselves.
The important thing is, if there were to be a tornado that's about to form, that's the area. So, we've got it bullseyed. We're just, watching and waiting. And so far, been coming off pretty fortunate that it hasn't wrapped up and spun fast enough to get us a tornado.
Right. It's about 5 or 6 miles west of the highway. That's 287, and it's moving eastward at about 25 miles per hour or developing, but it just hasn't found the right conditions to wrap up there. I'm also noticing kind of on the right-hand side of your picture, that darker area, there might even be a little green in there, Dave, suggesting that we've got some hail, which we know we do, but that's just a further confirmation that might be there.
Yeah, on radar, Kevin, if we come back to the radar, you'll see the hail core just almost to 287.
Okay, yeah, let's zoom in, and that's the hail core, so it's just now on the edge of the highway, and that's going to persist that might go for 10 minutes or even more on the highway. So again, we'll kind of warn people if they're just joining, don't come south from Dumas or Masterson, don't go north on 287 from Amarillo. That's the intersection of 335 and 287 right there. So that area is in the clear. That's the beginning or the southern edge of the polygon of the warning. It goes up to just south of Masterson. We're talking about this red box right here. But what we're probably seeing in the lowering is that little hook right there. I think that's probably 3 to 4 miles now, just west of the highway. So in the next 15 to 20 minutes, they're going to be in perfect position to watch that thing come over the highway. Oh, thank you. There's the velocity product again. Okay, so that lines up pretty well with the hook, that little pendant, that little wraparound in the reflectivity. You can see on the motion, it's going eastward. And as we go over time, it gets brighter there. So the brighter is faster winds. So it is trying. What we're actually seeing on the radar is a couple of 1,000 feet up. That's why we have Tanner and Alex there, is to see the lower part, because technically what you're looking at is a mesocyclone as opposed to the tornado itself, because the radar beam goes higher and higher above the ground, and that's why we want to have them looking at it. But the clear sign is rotation there, or at least good inflow on that. And that's the reflectivity again. That's the rain, how much rain there is, and the hail, just a mile or two from the highway. So that will continue to cross in the next couple of minutes. So let's go back and check. We'll just kind of ping pong back and forth here. Okay, yeah, let's check on that. That area looking a little bit more raggedy. They're obviously on the move here. Can we get to them? Let's go ahead and see where they are and where they're going. Tanner, can you hear me?
I can indeed, Kevin. Yes. So where we just were, so we are about to get back onto 287, correct?
Yes. We go south. We're going to make our way towards the Fritch Highway.
Yeah, making our way toward Fritch Highway. The area of rotation is actually getting dangerously kind of close to us, so we're going to reposition, trying to get a shot of the rotation here. Rotation is still there. it has weakened ever so slightly, but like I said, the broad rotation is still there. Winds picked up a good bit as well. Just some gusty winds coming out of this storm.
Getting some chaser convergence.
Yeah, it's a good kind of a glob of chasers here right now, so we're doing our best to kind of reposition the camera and find somewhere else to go as well. But the main thing to take from this, still rotation within the storm. You did hear from Dave that the tornado warning has been continued as the storm has not really weakened or strengthened significantly over the past 30 minutes, but we're going to continue to keep you guys updated on this storm over the next few minutes and also throughout the rest of the night. Again, this storm is tornado warned, so if you are anywhere in that tornado warning polygon, you definitely want to take shelter as of right now. Dave, Kevin, back to you.
Thank you. Okay, Tanner and Alex, thank you very much. We're continuing, obviously, to watch the storm. We're going to be in continuous coverage as long as it is a threat here. So tornado warning for the northern portion of Potter County. We've not had confirmation of anything on the ground yet, but we just got confirmation of tennis ball size hail, and that's what we were talking about just north of where they are on that rotation and that area of pink that is going across the highway. You saw cars on the highway there. Again, if you know anybody that's going to travel there, please get on the phone and let them know that they're going to be driving into something that will easily crack or break a windshield, because we're talking tennis ball size hail. For Amarillo proper, nothing right now and nothing immediately threatening. This little cell that popped up north of Bushland is going to try and catch up to this tornado warned cell as well. Dave, why don't we go check on our Stratford storm as well, go a little further northward and see. That has gotten south of Stratford. It is also now over 287 with some hail coming in, so that's north of Cactus. It's going to continue to develop southeastward, and so the same hail threat. We've not seen as well-defined a rotation. Consequently, it is not tornado warned, but we've not seen that on this particular cell, but the hail potential actually moving toward Cactus within, I'd give that 20, maybe 20, 25, 30 minutes at the outside. So if you were in Cactus, you got a couple of minutes to go ahead and get the car in the garage or those area, anything you don't want outside, because that hail core is coming here. So we've been lucky so far in that the most dangerous parts of these storms have not gone over any big populated areas. That doesn't mean there won't be. As we get further toward and past sunset tonight, these storms will start to weaken a little bit, start to go down. But we're going to leave rain in the forecast at least until midnight, scattered showers, maybe until 2 a.m. as well, and that potential for severe weather will continue. All of these other little cells, none of them are severe at this point. In Dalhart, you got a little band just to your west that's going to come through here in a minute, so the rain's going to pick up. That's 5 minutes away. And then we go back down 54. Narragansett, that cell looks like it's going to rotate or animate that. It's going to go east and northeast, so that's going to come right up the highway. So I wouldn't travel southwestward out of Dalhart right now, because there's going to be repeated cells coming through. So once again, here's our tornado warned storm. We're going to stick with it as it comes across the highway. There's a new little cell developing south of Amarillo. That one will probably go a little bit northeastward and not go through downtown. So we've been pretty lucky inside the loop. Nothing yet. The potential is still there a little later on tonight, but nothing imminent. Since new people may be coming in, let's go over our severe weather safety, tornado safety once again. Storm shelter, if you have one. Basement, if you have one. If not, first floor. This is not a large tornado situation, so you are completely safe if you go to the inside, the center of the house, first floor, in a small room toward the center, bathroom, hallway, closet. You want to go ahead and take something to cover up your head. Any kind of helmet is great. Cushions from the sofa are great as well. Get some sturdy shoes, just on the off chance, especially in that tornado warned area, that you get some damage. You don't want to be traipsing through that once you come out from your safe place. So you want to have some sturdy shoes with you. Here's the update on the tornado warning for Potter County. That's going to be until 7:15. Current time is just at 7 o'clock, so we get another 15 minutes on that. If the Weather Service decides to cancel that early, we'll certainly let you know. But there's enough rotation in the velocity product.
Still intact.
Still intact. Still on the velocity to show us that we're looking at rotation, and we don't want to cancel that early. I'm sorry. Okay, nothing new in the chat. Thank you very much. The chat we mentioned from time to time is a communications platform between us and emergency management and storm chasers and the National Weather Service. So we get that information from them immediately and can pass it on to you. And so that's why we mention the chat every now and then. But we can kind of see very clearly these storms, these cells are sort of filling in, meaning increasing in coverage, not necessarily intensity, but the small to medium-sized hail, even some dime-size or nickel-size hailstones, is not going to be out of the question anywhere in this area right now. That includes Dalhart in the next 5, 10, 15 minutes, maybe Hartley, areas northward. You've got some coming through Channing That little cell, let me come back in here, that's going to go toward Dumas now. I don't think you've had a heavy cell come through yet, but that will likely hold together. There's nothing interrupting that right now. Here's precipitation right here. If we get into the blue, 1 and 2 inch rainfall rates here, obviously with our heavy storm in Potter County, we see that in the blue areas. So the rain's going to come down. Let's talk about that. 2.2 inches accumulation so far. The ground in some cases is saturated because we've had a fair amount of rain. We had some heavy downpours certainly last night in spots. Saturated ground won't let that rain sink in, and so it's going to run right off and run into the low spots. So this is one of these situations, especially a little later on tonight, when if you see any kind of water on or rushing across a roadway, please turn around, don't drown. You don't know what that water has done to the road underneath it. It may look okay, but even a couple of inches of water can, number one, move your car, but if the road has been washed out underneath it, you obviously don't want to be in that because that's the kind of situation where the tires get stuck and things like that. So flooding potential, brief flooding potential, and you know your area in the low spots if you're going to be out and about, but if you don't have to be, please don't tonight. Be aware that the water's going to be rushing, some flooding potential is going to be there. So back to our tornado warned storm. It is north of Amarillo right now. As we've been saying, Amarillo proper, not under threat here. Got some new information?
Yeah.
Dave's going to take over for a minute.
Sure. Okay. Thanks, Kevin. Good job there. I just want to point out that the Weather Service went ahead and issued a new tornado warning for the same storm that we've been tracking. They're just going to extend it now a little further into Carson County. Just continuing to track the same situation. We have had occasional wall clouds. We've even had things that kind of look like funnel clouds. Some of the storm chasers out there reporting that. Let's take a look at our own video coming in from Tanner. Same storm that we've been tracking, and boy, that's a pretty gnarly looking storm at least. There's no doubt about that. I mean, they got the low, ragged stuff that. It's just frightening looking, and especially when we've had a tornado warning on that storm. But just not seeing the tight rotation or the touchdowns or the debris or anything that goes with full-fledged tornado. So, again, that's our weather atlas out north of Amarillo, up kind of close to the Canadian River area. But it's starting to push east of 287, and that's going to push it out close to Carson County, so that's where we're watching that very carefully. The storm has had the history of tennis ball size hail. That's been confirmed, is the big hail, tennis ball size hail, but well north of Amarillo. So Tanner's out keeping close tabs on that, just like he has been pretty much start to finish, and it's just it's an awesome team effort, as a viewer to know that, hey, you got the Weather Service issuing warnings. You got the First Alert team here, Sheldon, Kevin, and myself, tracking things on radar. We have our weather atlas right there where our radar is telling us that there's rotation. And we're able to see, actually, and verify or to discount exactly what's going on. Very low to the ground in there. Very low to the ground in there. Let's get Tanner. Tanner, can you hear me? I mean, it's hard to tell with that moving video. It looks like something is getting close to the ground there. What do you got there?
Yeah, so we've been watching this kind of very, very low base cloud here over the past maybe 5 to 10 minutes or so, something that's redeveloped. Trying my best to look out the window and see if there's any broad rotation in it. Having a little bit of trouble doing that. We should be stopping here in a couple minutes. And
we're trying to make our way to Fridge Highway.
Yeah, trying to make our way to Fridge Highway to get a little bit of a better view, at a safe distance, of course, from it. Reed's positioning the camera here. But yeah, you can see that very low cloud right there, and actually if you look just to the left of it, you can see almost a little bit of a turquoise hue that is often indicative of a pretty big hail core in a storm. And you heard Kevin and Dave talking about tennis ball sized hail that has been confirmed in this storm. So if you're anywhere even near this storm, anywhere in the severe thunderstorm warning polygon, or especially in the tornado warning polygon, please get inside, take shelter. And you heard Kevin give very good instructions: lowest floor of your house and the most interior room as well. Put as many walls between you and outside as you possibly can. Something to definitely keep in mind. This tornado warning, the second one was just issued a couple minutes ago, kind of in the same area, but extended a little bit eastward. As I'm looking at the velocity map right now, there is still some very, very good rotation within this storm, really over the past hour or so. But the main story of the storm is just the storm the storm's rotation hasn't really tightened up a whole lot. It's just been very broad, spanning a lot of miles, but seeing if it tightens up here over the next few minutes or so. So we'll keep you updated throughout the night on this storm and through the rest of the storms as well. As of right now, still not looking like it's going to hit the city of Amarillo, still going to the north of it. So if you are in the city of Amarillo, as of right now, not much to worry about. There is a little bit of a weak cell passing through Lake Tanglewood, but that is really about it. But stay tuned into News Channel 10. We'll keep you guys updated throughout the rest of the evening and into the night tonight.
All right, great work there, Tanner. Very ominous, very scary looking storm, no doubt. And you can see we got it pulled up on radar. The warning now going until 8 p.m., but crossing out of Potter into to Carson County there. So here's Dumas Highway 287 right there, Canadian River right about there. So we're just south of that. Still have that hook shape to it, and the purple in there it's diminished in size, at least aerial coverage, but still some pretty large hail. Earlier we confirmed we had some tennis ball size hail, so that's going right across the highway right now. Kevin was suggesting long ago, avoid travel between Amarillo and Dumas until this thing blows on through there, and it's pretty much right over the highway right now. Moving to the east, indications about 15-20 miles per hour. It looks like it may have slowed just a little bit there, but staying north of Amarillo, staying north of the city, coming out. This looks like the bottom edge of that, coming across Bishop Hills, Eagle Tree, probably getting into some of that heavy rain. The heavy rain now getting over close to Rolling Hills. So that's going to get out Rolling Hills, and then probably River Road. Tierra Grande might be up closer to that heavy rain and hail. But for most of the city, that's still staying to our north. So I know you've had all kinds of warnings coming across your NOAA weather radio. Your phone app probably sounded off. That's great. That's what we want to happen. Just think if this was, 2, 3 in the morning. You'd want that waking you up. You want that to really let you know something is going on. Fortunately, everything has worked out the way the warning system and team effort should, where we get the warnings, we track it on radar, we send it out to our weather atlas or our other chasers, and they let us know exactly what's going on. So far, so good. A lot of hail, some flooding, some straight wind, and even some rotations and wall clouds and tornadoes. Fortunately, we have not tracked damaging tornadoes. I'll tell you what, 287 is rough tonight, because when we jump north of Dumas and get up here to Cactus on the way to Stratford, that's heavy rain, and we still have that hail core. Looks like that one is also diminished in aerial coverage, but we still could be looking at golf balls. Earlier we had at least the indications of up to baseball size hail on radar. That's still coming down towards Cactus. You might be dodging the bullet because this heavy rain is kind of sweeping in. We might be interfering with that hail core and the structure of the storm. Yep. That being said, we still need to watch out Cactus to Sunray now. We can pretty much guarantee the heavy rain coming across. And, this has been a wet place. We've had additional storms, and, the ground is getting saturated, getting soggy, waterlogged. It's not going to hold water very, very long with that kind of rain. So, our secondary roads first, but even 287 and the access road can get water over them. Sheldon's getting excited about.
I'm gonna punch it up for you here in just a second.
Okay, this is what it looks like from downtown Amarillo. Can we pull up the downtown camera, our sky tracker? And my goodness, that's just ugly. I mean, I don't know what else to say. That looks pretty ugly. That's supercell storm. You see the striated base there. You see, the layers of the storm is rotating. When I teach about supercells in my meteorology class at WT, I show pictures like this because this is what you get the striations showing the rotation, but then that stuff hanging out the bottom, it just looks incredibly frightening. And I promise people look out, and if there are obstacles in the way, something that looks like it's in contact with the ground. This is how often we get rumors or reports of tornadoes when they're not actually there. But it's just because I think we have heightened anxiety, and then you look out and you see a cloud like that. And also you see part of Amarillo in that same picture. But the perspective is kind of throwing us off. That's actually, like we said, 10 or 15 miles north of Amarillo. A lot of lightning in there. That's Buchanan Street looking due north. So you can see the Globe News Center and the Civic Center. That's Buchanan looking straight north. Of course, that becomes the Dumas Highway. And a little further up to the road there, that's when we get those incredible pictures from our weather atlas. Is that Bushland there? What do we have there? No, that's... Okay, no, okay, wow. Well, we got to get to that. Let's get to Tanner's feed from our weather atlas. And, think about what we just looked at from downtown. Let's get you up right to the storm's edge. And there you go. I mean, that is an intercept of that supercell storm. And by the way, a very safe intercept. That storm is moving left to right on the screen, and they're just right south of that. So they're not in the path of it, but they're able to be close enough to really watch the intricate, developments and the telltale signs should we have something that looks like a tornado. Right now, I'd say we just have a severe supercell storm. It's harboring a lot of hail, and it has been rotating, just not the real compact rotations that generate storms. Going back about an hour, this thing started off back there to the north, or just to the south of Channing Boys Ranch, came east, kind of right down the Canadian River, got into Potter County, got a tornado warning issued because of the rotation, and the proximity of it to Amarillo kind of got it in the warning. So that's what sounded off all the alerts and has people on heightened awareness. So just a beautiful shot there. Again, that's our weather atlas. Tanner Brammer, one of our first alert meteorologists, right in there. Alex Ricart driving, and they're just doing an excellent job. Thank you, guys. When we come back to radar, and just to let you know, you're seeing me on camera right now. We're packed house right now. We got Sheldon Brashears, Kevin Selly over there running the radar for me right now, and Sheldon's getting all these camera shots and stuff. So it's a team effort. That's why we call it a first alert night. Your first alert team is fully engaged, and we got other guys here too that you're not going to see on the air, but behind the scenes, people like Dylan and Jordan, and the control room's full of people too. I mean, I feel like David Letterman or somebody trying to name people that are helping the show. Just know that we got a complete station-wide team effort, and I see a warning box there. Kevin's ready to pop out here and take over with the latest.
Sure,
Thanks,
I'll let you do some analysis, Dave, and I'll take over with this. This is the notch. This is the lowering right here that they're seeing on Tanner's camera. This is 287, so it's right over the highway right now. But I think we're going to be in good shape. If somebody wants to loop that, Dave, if you want to loop it once or twice, I want to watch. This is a different cell that has come in and merged with this. See right here, that has come in. So I think that is good news in that it is one of the things that is disrupting the organization of the storm a little bit that should help keep us from actually getting a funnel and maybe a tornado. The tornado warning continues, and they're not going to let it up because there are still plenty of signs that this might try and drop one. But I think this is going to be good news in that I think it's going to try and what we call wrap itself around, or there's probably some cold air that is coming out ahead of it that is not the good fuel for a tornadic situation. That wants warm, moist, humid, unstable air that can rapidly rise. So any cooler air coming out, we're watching this hook very, very carefully. There is still the potential for that to wrap and drop a tornado. Let's talk about the hail core for just a second. That's still right over the highway, but it is diminishing in coverage. See the amount of purple going on there? That is where we likely saw the 1 inch to maybe even 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches size hail. This is still well north of downtown Amarillo, which is good news. So here, the next thing is going to be the next benchmark. It's largely open country. It's going to be Highway 136 that comes northward out of Amarillo. So that's where this thing is heading. It is still probably on this speed at least 30 minutes or more away from 136. But anything anybody any kind of structures there that may be under threat on 136, just know that that is coming in your direction. And there's really nothing to stop the heavy thunderstorm. We've still not seen anything with regard to a tornadic situation, or I should say a tornado on the ground, sorry. The cell that was near Cactus, that is diminished in intensity a little bit as well. We've noticed that on the radar. The Weather Service mentioned that as well. There is still a severe thunderstorm warning for that cell. Cactus is included. And then that goes eastward to near and south of Groover, right at the edge of Spearman, right at the edge of Stinnett. So you're on the edge of this severe thunderstorm warning. That activity is still at least 30, probably 45 minutes or more away from you. But it will continue to sort of move in an easterly direction. These cells behind the main branch are coming over an area that is probably more stable, meaning less likely to see tornadic activity because the rain that has come through already has stabilized the air a little bit. It's cooled it down. So it's not as ripe for tornadic activity. It still may produce some very, very heavy rain and some small hail in some spots. All right, we haven't checked in on Tanner in a minute or two. We've got a still position from them. Let's go ahead and take their camera, and we'll talk about the, I think they're probably watching basically the shelf cloud on this. Thank you, Kyle. We've got a lowering that we've talked about, Dave has talked about. There's some raggedy scud clouds there, but it has just not gained enough organization yet, which is good news, to produce a funnel cloud or a tornado. But the potential is still there. That's why we're still on TV. That warning at this, did they extend that until what time? Do you remember?
8 p.m.
8 p.m. Okay, so it's 7:15 right now. Let's kind of recap. This is obviously News Channel 10. We got the whole team working on this tornadic thunderstorm for the northern portion of Potter County, and now it extends into the western part of Carson County. It's been extended until 8 o'clock. It is a tornado warning if you're just joining us. We have not had any reports of a tornado. We have had large hail. We've had an official report of tennis ball size hail. And just to review your safety instructions, if you're just coming with us, remember where you want to think now as opposed to when you feel under threat where you're going to go in your house. That's tornado shelter or basement if you have one. Otherwise, you want to be on the first floor, the lowest floor toward the center of the house, like a bathroom, a hallway, or a closet. The idea is to put as many walls between you and the outside as you can. And then you want to have a helmet, or even if you don't have that, some sofa cushions, something like that. Don't go back to the 70s where you're trying to get the mattress off the bed or anything like that. We don't want to see a fool and trying to get the mattress down the hallway. But definitely something to cover up your head and some sturdy shoes in case there is any damage in your area. It's also a time still at this point, even though we're not in a populated area, to get your phone tree going. If you are east of 287, north of 335, or you know anybody there, go ahead and get them on the phone. Maybe they haven't had the television on, they haven't had a chance to get a warning yet. So get them on the phone and say, hey, let's start paying attention. News Channel 10 is on TV. We're streaming online at newschannel10.com, also on our mobile phone app, and also on Facebook. So let everybody know that we've got a tornado warned situation and that we're continuing to watch it. And we'll stay with the coverage until there is a cancellation or obvious no threat. And we're continuing to be in contact with the Weather Service. If Tanner can hear us, maybe we'll get a report from him. Maybe he could tell us where he is. They're on the move again. So give us an idea where you are, which direction you are looking, and what you're seeing, Tanner.
All right, so we're going to reposition ourselves because, again, we're getting a little bit close to it. Our view might have gotten a little bit obstructed. But we are currently moving southwestward on Fritch Highway, correct?
1912.
1912, okay.
Basically between Fritch Highway and 60.
All right, there you go. So, yeah, we're going to try and drive a little bit more eastward, try and get more ahead of this storm, just so we can continue to monitor the rotation in the storm, kind of reposition the camera here. We can show you. And again, if you look, it's been this way the past hour or so. Look at that little bit of a turquoise hue in there, indicative of some pretty good hail core within the storm. Looks like, I'm looking at the radar right now, the hail core is weakening a little bit, but still some pretty decently sized hail within this storm. Still obviously severe warned, still tornado warned right now. And trying my best to look. Try my best to look out the window.
Yeah, I'll reposition here a second.
We're going to pull over here for a minute.
Parsley Road.
And, yeah, on Parsley Road, correct?
Yep.
All right. So, we're going to stop and, oh, yeah. So, we're going to reposition our camera here. And, like I said, still rotation within the storm. But, you know, I sound like a broken record when I say this. Still fairly broad. But we're going to zoom in right here. That's not zooming in. There we go. We're going to zoom in right there. That's what we're watching right now. keeping an eye on that. Because you heard Kevin talking about earlier, there was a little bit of a cell that kind of merged into this big one. And, you know, a lot of times that does help in, you know, taking down that rotation a little bit, kind of disrupting the organization of a supercell. But there are the times where maybe like this, another cell doesn't really have an effect on the original one. So still a good bit of a hook echo in this storm, and I'm looking at the velocity map right now. And a good bit of some different wind direction within this storm as well. So continuing to monitor it, you can see on our camera here the rotation within it. We are going to continue monitoring it over the next, really all throughout the evening and the night tonight. Like I said, still tornado warned. We'll keep you guys updated in case it is canceled, or in case it is extended, or in case, you know, there are any new tornado warnings for the area. But tornado warned, so if you are in this polygon of a tornado warned storm, again, get inside. Not a good idea to try and get outside and take video, because that is a little bit on the dangerous side. So get inside, keep yourself safe, and keep it tuned with us, and we will keep you updated for the rest of the evening.
Okay, Tanner, thanks very much. Excellent coverage there. Alex Ricarte and Tanner Brammer watching that storm as it's now crossing 287. This is the velocity product. It shows us wind speed and direction. We've got really good news here in that the striations, that sort of layered look on the thunderstorm that you see from Tanner's camera, is showing this, what we call broad rotation. What we don't want to see, that's what Dave's drawing in right there, what we don't want to see is likely the center of that rotation is right here. When we start to get bright green next to bright red, when we call it pixel to pixel, or each of these little dots right here, we don't see that. This is a broad rotation. It's certainly rotating. That's one of the things that supported the hail that this thing was producing, but we don't see it close together, which is really, really good news. This sort of bowed area right here is outflow from the storm. Behind that, that is cooler air, which is not conducive to tornadic activity if it starts to get ingested into the storm. This red is warm, moist, unstable air that's moving in. Okay, now as you see in the animation, let that run a couple of times, Dave, it is sort of peaked in brightness just as it came across the highway. So that was easily a 40 or 50 or more mile-an-hour wind gust straight line. But now it has moved east of the highway. I would argue that the brightness has dimmed just a little bit there, so that is caused, that's slowing, a little bit of slowing in the wind, which is good news. There's friction with the ground that's going on there, and so that will start to slow down. But if that had persisted, then we would certainly be worried about trying to ramp up some rotation on there. This is, again, reflectivity, the rainfall rate, how hard it's raining. And there's lightning, or was lightning in there, too. That's obviously producing a lot of cloud-to-ground lightning. But it's going across the highway now. So as we mentioned, 136 is sort of the next benchmark. And thankfully, this storm has stayed out in the open and stayed north of Amarillo. So Amarillo, you're not under threat of any heavy rain right now. There's some new cells developing just north of Canyon, just west and southwest of Canyon. Those are going to move northeastward. Yeah, good. Well, there's 335 loop right there. That's 27 right there. So right at the intersection where the construction is still going on, then bend in the new highway there. That little cell, it's nowhere near severe, but it is strengthening a little bit. There's nothing to keep it from strengthening, and that looks like it will go right along and maybe just west of 27. So if you're south of 40 along and west of 27, yeah, there's some rain coming. If it continues to strengthen, there might be a little bit of small hail, so keep that in mind. But so far, Amarillo proper has been spared, but you can see further, we've got new storms that are continuing to develop. So this will be one of those cases where you get some rain, then it'll stop, and then another cell will come by, and that one may be a little bit stronger, and then another one after it stops again. But near Umbarger and along 60, we continue to see those moving northeastward. Any new information, gentlemen?
Yeah, they're going to continue the tornado warning.
Okay.
The rotation there that you pointed out, 12 north of Amarillo, moving east at 10.
Moving east to 12 miles north of Amarillo. So that was Amarillo. You had not been in the tornado warning. You will not be. That is going to stay north of the city proper. So no threat for Amarillo proper, or really near 335 and just north of there. But we continue to watch. Now, let me come back in and we'll see here. Pause that for just a minute. This is the area that's across the highway. That's the one that we've been watching that Tanner had been showing us. Now we've got a new cell that's approaching, and that one's starting to develop what we call a little pendant, a little further southward development there. So we'll now watch that one because I don't see any rotation there. Remember, we want bright green, or don't want bright green next to bright red to see rotation. This is broad rotation. We don't see any rotation right here, but the potential is there. If we go back to the reflectivity, you can kind of see the lowering there on that little notch right there. Out here, there's nothing to interrupt the warm, moist inflow there. So warm, moist air is going to come in. Now, but I am seeing that's probably a little outflow boundary right there, that maybe there's some cooler air behind it. But we want to watch that. No threat right now. The Weather Service is going to continue with this tornado warning, even though it's not producing a tornado at this time. That potential is certainly there. Hey, let's go up to the north. Yeah, thank you, and check on our other storms. From Cactus southward to Dumas. These are interesting. They're kind of developing in an easterly direction and southeasterly direction at the same time. So Dumas, I think you're going to get at minimum some heavy rain, especially just north of town on 287. That one had shown numerous signs of trying to rotate. That has diminished, so that's good news there in between Cactus and Dumas. Other heavy storm cells are going to continue to kind of wander on through. So yeah, Hartley in Dalhart, southward to Channing, you're going to find that a heavy storm is going to come through. Once the rain ends, there may be another one yet behind it, but none of these are as likely to rotate as the ones that we had earlier because they're back behind some slightly cooler air. But anywhere along Highway 54, there's some heavy rain there. This is what has fallen. Obviously, we've been near Conlin, either side of Conlin, and just west of Stratford. These accumulations, 2.3 inches, 1.3 inches. What's interesting about these calculations is the radar is looking, okay, how much rain was falling, but there have been hail in those storms as well. Hail is more reflective. It makes it look like it's raining actually heavier, but at least an inch of rain in some of those bluer areas. And the potential there for more is going to continue as you see these cells just sort of stacked up. That's kind of looking like a train right now. There's a little training going on. So the problem with that, from Dumas to Hartley to north of Channing, especially in Hartley. Your heavy rain is going to pick up in intensity for a couple of minutes, go for at least 10 to 15 minutes, then you get a break, and then another cell is going to come. Do the same thing, you get another cell coming. And so that's going to be the potential, especially for the rest of the night, for flooding that we want to watch. Anything that is, any low spots have the potential to get that rain, that heavy rain to run off and fill up and cross a roadway. So a little pendant on that one. It's not severe yet. There's no warning on it, but we want to keep aware on the highway in between Boys Ranch and also Channing that one's coming through. I'm kind of interested in this now. Let's go back to maybe the velocity if we can. That one may be trying to tighten up a little bit. That's the southernmost part of that storm cell. I don't see anything now, but it's okay. Well, it's certainly trying. Yeah, Bishop Hills, just north of Bishop Hills. We're going to watch that. I hear Tanner in my ear. Let's go back to them, see where they are, because they're talking about that storm as well. See if they've got a bead on that one. That one's going to go just north of 335. Is this the main cell, Tanner, or that new one that's developing just to the southwest of it?
Okay, let's look at that.
Yeah. So, Kevin, yeah, we've been monitoring this as well. Watching for a little bit of area of rotation. But, like you were saying, it's moving into an area of air that's already, cooled by previous thunderstorms. So maybe not as big of a risk, but, anything could happen with these storms. That's the new one that we are watching. You see on the camera here. We'll pan to the old one. Right about there. Still a decent amount of structure. Still, I know I sound like a broken record here. Very broad rotation. But keeping an eye on that new area of rotation just to the north of Bishop Hills. Again, looking like it's going to skirt just to the north of the city of Amarillo, so nothing much to worry about if you're in the city of Amarillo. And there is a little bit of good news as well. Looks like these hail cores are kind of weakening a little bit. Maybe some small hail as of right now, mainly just in the way of some heavy rain, some broad rotation. That is about it. But you also heard him talking about how how the tornado warning was extended until 8 o'clock because, again, radar indicated rotation in, I'm going to say both of these storms because I wouldn't be surprised if some rotation develops to the north of Bishop Hills. So, two areas we're watching right now. This is the first one, and this is the second one. Like I said, the second one maybe not as likely to develop, but again, keeping an eye on it and keeping an eye on other storms as well. I'm going to actually kind of talk about some other storms in the area. Some kind of weak storms popping up down toward Friona, Hereford, Clovis, that kind of southwestern area. The Texas Panhandle. Nothing severe warned as of right now. Maybe a couple flashes of lightning, some brief heavy downpours, some brief gusty winds. That's really about it. Looking up toward Canyon. Hearing something in my ear here. lot of static. Some very weak storms forming just to the southwest of Canyon. Canyon, you can expect some rounds of showers, some heavier showers at that here over the next 30 minutes or so. And Amarillo, I will say some not storms, but some heavier showers are moving into the city as well. Now these showers that are moving into Amarillo, some flashes of lightning as of right now, some brief heavy downpours, maybe some gusty winds. That's really about it. But it does look like they are intensifying a little bit. Will they be severe warned when they hit Amarillo? That is the big question. We'll keep you guys updated on that, but we'll get back to the main cell here. And to the guys in the studio, I am hearing some pretty loud static in my ear right now.
They're probably changing out batteries.
Okay, gotcha.
So you can take that off on Unity.
Okay.
Just undo the channel.
Okay. The chaser?
Yeah. Until...
All right, we'll come back from Tanner. They're having a little mic issue. That's that static. We apologize for that. They'll work on that, but that gives us a chance to get back to the radar here. So the main storm cell, and maybe you can slow that down a little bit or pause it. The part that he was talking about, the old cell and the new one. This is the old one. The hail intensity is going down. That's good news there. And this is the new one. That's the pendant. That's that second lowering that we were watching. It's not real well organized at this moment in time, but we want to do a couple of things. Sheldon, maybe you turn the velocity or the reflectivity up so we can see that little outflow boundary. Just to get your bearings, here's Amarillo proper. Most of the city not under threat from this cell. This is 335. This is 287 right here. Now, here right there, Sheldon's increasing the sensitivity showing on the radar. That's called an outflow boundary right there. When you have a thunderstorm approaching you and you feel that cold gust of wind hit you and the wind changes direction, that's cold air that's falling out of the thunderstorm. It hits the ground like a big blob of jelly and just spreads out. Well, it does a couple of things. That can be a pretty big gust of wind, 40 miles per hour plus, but behind it, now we're in colder air. The storm was surviving and increasing in intensity because it had warm, moist, humid air coming in from the southeast, feeding it. But we see this little outflow boundary come out. That is often a sign of two things. The main cell will weaken a little bit because it has the colder air as fuel as opposed to that warm, unstable air. The other thing that it may do is it creates new lift along and just behind that. So new updrafts or new cells can develop, which then could continue to develop and possibly become severe. So that's important for Amarillo right now because that's going to continue to kind of move on to the southeast. So we'll look for new cells to develop. I don't know that they'll be severe at this point, but we'll want to watch that, of course. Maybe we pan down a little bit to the south. You can see we talked about the cells that were approaching the southwestern portion of Amarillo. Now we're getting into that inside the 335 corridor. This cell clearly not severe. It will move, though, right up along and just west of 27. So you're going to get a little burst of rain there. Everybody wants a little bit for their yard. Then we get the junction between 27 and 40 right there, and then we're into downtown Amarillo. So that one is coming, but that will be worth watching because now it gets to that outflow boundary. It chokes off the cold air, chokes off the warm air, and we get in that cold air, so maybe it won't strengthen. We're going to check from downtown. Do we have that, or is it on? I think I've loaded it in my show, or if we have the downtown camera. I think it's loaded up above the radar. There we go, perfect. So there's a pretty good lowering there. I think that's... So let me get my bearings. That's looking northwestward. So that's the little pendant that we're seeing on the new cell right there. Is there some way, Brady, in the control room, you can put me in front of this? If you can't, that's fine. If you can, you can just pop me in. That's perfect right there. So here's our lowering, our wall cloud, or there's our rotation, our mesocyclone. That's the lowering. There's a lot of little scud clouds. You watch those for persistence. They're not dangerous, but they're worth watching. If they persist and they rotate, now you may be dealing with a funnel, but I just don't see that at this point. Here's the lowest part of that, and we'll just watch these. We'll continue to watch these sort of come and go, those little scud clouds, and then we've got the broader mesocyclone or some rotation, those striations right in there. Again, the perspective is sort of interesting. This is on the Excel building from downtown, looking northwestward or north-northwestward. So it looks compressed a little bit. It's not over downtown. It's north of 335. So we're talking about probably has just gone over near the Tascosa Road area, eventually toward Rolling Hills, maybe just west of the television station. Not producing a funnel at this time. That's one of the scud. Want to zoom in on that maybe? That would be interesting to see. Okay, that's a scud cloud right there. It's a lowering, it's not rotating, and it's not organized as a funnel. But that's the area that we want to watch. If we stick with that for a minute, maybe we'll just come back and forth if we need to. But see how that's already kind of detached itself from the main parent cloud and is weakening a little bit. But now this one, we want to watch that one. We see, okay, that's a little tighter. It's trying to take on a little bit of a funnel shape. But that's why when we go and look at the velocity product on the radar, because we want to see if there is tighter rotation in that. I think that one will probably persist for another minute or two, but you can see it changing shape fairly rapidly. I don't see rapid rotation around it, but again, those are the kinds of things that we want to watch. And I'm guessing that Tanner and Alex are probably going to reposition themselves further down 287 and sort of look at this new cell. The Weather Service is watching it as well. They've got chasers out there. We're hearing reports from emergency management folks as well. So everybody's kind of communicating on this, what we call the National Weather Service chat, the back channel, to kind of keep everybody informed on what's going on. So threatening looking, yes. Worth watching, yes. Do you need to go to your safe place for this cell? No, because you're not in the tornado warning at this point in time. If that changes, of course, we'll let you know. We've got officially about 25 more minutes on the tornado warning that is for the north central, northeastern parts of Potter County and into Carson County. So officially a tornado warning, you want to be alert. And something I haven't said in a while, don't wait for us to tell you to go to your safe place. You be prepared to go there. If you feel the pressure drop in your ears, you feel the wind pick up, you hear the wind pick up, go ahead and go to your safe place. So that would see that lowering. It's kind of become more ragged looking. It's sort of lifting back up into the main thunderstorm. Okay, let's go back to radar. We'll check on that since we need to do that, and we haven't done it in a moment or two, but the guys are still watching those. That's what we were watching right there. So here's 335. That's now past Tascosa Road. It stayed north of Bishop Hills, but 287 has been the corridor. TV station right about here, so that should go near or north of us and then go across the highway. We don't see as much in the way of hail indicators as well. That was the bright purple. There's probably some pea-sized hailstones coming across 287 right now, and as we've been saying all evening, don't travel in between Amarillo and Masterson or Dumas until these move on by. This was the old cell that Tanner was talking about right there. There's still a little bit of a notch there. It's certainly worth watching. That's moving toward 136, so we don't want to go northeast out of Amarillo on 136 because at minimum you've got some heavy rain that would be moving toward Borger and Fritch. Okay, thank you for pulling out. I want to see what's going on here. Yeah, come out. That right there is great. Right there, we've got another little outflow boundary. See that line going that way? That's good news for Amarillo. Behind that is some cooler air, and so that's keeping these thunderstorms that are now near Canyon and moving up and west of 27 from strengthening. So good news there. We won't necessarily see any kind of rotation there. I don't expect it. To the northeastern portion of the region, if you are in Dumas, Stratford, Channing, you've obviously had several waves of heavy rain. That's going to continue. See how these are getting a little bit bigger? They're going to continue to fill in and get increase in coverage. Because there's so many of them in a tight space, they are much, much, much less likely to rotate. So that's good news there. They are more likely to produce extremely heavy rain, and I think we'll probably some areas start to see this shift from the strong thunderstorm with strong winds and possible rotation threat to a flooding threat. And that's going to go past sunset tonight. So if you're in Channing, anywhere between Channing and Dumas, west of Borger, if you don't need to travel tonight, don't, because these are going to be in small areas. They're going to rain very heavy in one area. It's going to flood a little bit. The runoff will continue, and that could do any kind of a short-term flooding and damage to the roadways. And I see Dave coming. You going to take a moment?
Coverage here and get it off on air, online.
Okay, good. So let me get you the situation. Let's zoom in on our tornado warning. What we're going to do is get off TV here in a minute, but we're continuing on NewsChannel10.com, streaming on the app, and streaming on our Facebook page. So let's do a little wrap up here. This is the tornado warned area. So the back edge of this warned area, the polygon, is right along 287. You are not in the clear yet. Anywhere westward, so northward from Vega to Valley de Oro, you're in the clear. Still the chance for a thunderstorm or two, but if you had been in that tornado warning west of 287, I think you're safe now for the time being. We'll obviously continue to watch it. This thunderstorm cell is going to go across 136. Panhandle, you are outside of the tornado warned area. It could be extended further east, so just be aware in Panhandle, not under the warning right now. Amarillo, you've never been under the warning. I think you're going to remain fairly stable. That's our little outflow boundary that we talked about. So we're going to get off TV. If you want to stick with us online, again, it's newschannel10.com, the app, and also Facebook. If we need to get back on TV, of course we will. If we see an extension of the warning or a new threat, we will come. So please stay with CBS programming. And of course, we'll be on at 10 o'clock to keep you posted. We'll do cut-ins as needed. So thank you very much for staying with us on television. They can go ahead and switch off there, and we will continue online.